إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة فتركها على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها، ما زاغ عنها إلا هالك وما استمسك بها إلا مهتد، صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Indeed, life has a meaning. The creation has a purpose. And every single human being, every one of us, has a role to play in relation to the purpose of the creation, which we call the mission of every single individual. There is a collective mission, and there is a mission that is incumbent on every single one of us, which is our role. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the Quran, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Do you think that we had created you in vain and that you would not be brought back to us for accountability? So the ayah is very clear. We weren't created in vain. There is a purpose to serve, and there is a role to play. And everyone will be held accountable based on this purpose and based on this role that everyone again needs to play. And when we say accountable, that means that your mission, your role, my mission and my role, our mission and our role should be well defined. That everyone knows what the mission is, what the purpose is, what the role is. Now, in terms of the purpose, we find it identified for us in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal identifies this purpose for us. Yes, it's a broad purpose, but we know what it is. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have only created jinns and men that they may worship me. But that will raise another question. What is the definition of worship? I mean, being here, listening to this khutbah, coming to the Jumu'ah prayer, is this an act of worship or not? It is an act of worship, right? Everyone is sitting, listening to a khatib. You're taking this time to come to the masjid. This is an act of worship. Fasting is an act of worship, whether Ramadan, outside Ramadan. Giving zakah and sadaqah is an act of worship. Helping people is an act of worship. Anything that we do that is good is an act of worship. But worship is not limited, is not reduced to these rituals. Worship is not reduced to our prayers. It's not reduced to our fasting, to our hajj. It's not reduced to our zakah. Worship encompasses everything that we do in terms of good, and worship means more than just coming to the masjid. Worship has to do with our role in this life. And it has to do with our role in relation to the purpose of this life, which is again the worship itself. But now we have to take it on a broader, in a broader sense, put it in a broader context to truly understand what worship is and what my relationship or my role vis-a-vis this purpose. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, and when broadens the meaning of worship, when He tells us, إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. We did indeed offer the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, but they refused to undertake it, being afraid thereof. But man undertook it. He was indeed unjust and foolish. So now there is a trust that Allah is telling us. A trust that was offered to the heavens, to the earth, to the mountains, but they did not take it. They were afraid of it because they know what it entails to be entrusted with this trust, with this amana. And my brothers and sisters, when we talk about the amana, the trust that we took as human beings, we're talking about inhabiting this land. We're talking about constructing this land. We're talking about what we know in Arabic, al-amara, constructing this land and establishing justice in this land. Do the right thing. Live according to the teachings of Allah Azza wa Jal. Maintaining order. Anything that you can think of in terms of constructing this land and maintaining order in this land is part of our amana. This is the trust. And this is what Allah asked us to do, and this is what we accept, or what Allah offered us, this is what we accepted, and this is my definition of my amana when it comes to my role in relation to constructing this land, inhabiting this land. What is my role? To make this life as productive as possible. Not only in terms of my relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal when I meet with Him in the Day of Judgment, but also in terms of my contribution to the amana on this land of, again, having peace, tranquility, having people living according to the teachings of Allah, having maintaining peace here on this land, and also making sure that this life continues, advances, that people continue to be this positive force on earth. So everyone, my dear brothers and sisters, has that role. The Prophet ﷺ himself had a role to play, right? I mean, the message was sent down to the Prophet ﷺ. It was revealed to him. And everyone knows that the Prophet was forgiven. Forgiven for everything, right? He was forgiven. He didn't need to do anything because Allah gave him that immunity. Allah elevated him. Allah promised him that you're regardless of what happens, regardless of what you do, definitely all what the Prophet did was good. But he was forgiven for everything. But the Prophet ﷺ understood that his amana was about his mission as well. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't keep that message for himself. None of the prophets of Allah kept the message for themselves. Every prophet made sure that this amana is put in motion. Therefore the Prophet ﷺ, who was told by Allah, Ya ayyuhal muddathiru qum fa'anzir, arise and warn, a man, the Prophet ﷺ didn't keep that message for himself, but he made sure that it reached every person, it reached everyone that the Prophet could have reached at the time. And by extension, this message reached to all humanity. Because the Prophet was sent as what? As a universal messenger. Rahmatan lil alameen. With the message of mercy. And in the process of communicating this message, the Prophet ﷺ suffered. Now, everyone knows that the Prophet paid a price. Was it an easy journey for the Prophet ﷺ? Everyone read the seerah of the Prophet, right? It wasn't an easy journey. the Prophet did suffer. I mean, he himself, it's not only that he was insulted, called names, disrespected, he was beaten too. He had seen some of his relatives, his companions being killed. He'd seen his companions being expelled from their homeland. He himself was expelled from his homeland. It wasn't an easy journey. He did suffer and he did sacrifice a lot. But that, what made Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam as elevated as he is today. That what made every single prophet as elevated as they are today. That's why we honor them. That's why we respect the messengers of Allah. Because they knew that the trust that they were entrusted with, which is the message, meant a mission. It was a mission for every single one of them. And their companions, not only the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad ﷺ, but all of the companions of the prophets did carry on with the same mission. We don't love Abu Bakr and Umar, Uthman and Ali and the rest of the companions, peace and blessings be upon all of them. We don't just love them because they believed in the Prophet ﷺ, rather because they carried on with his mission. Right? May Allah be pleased with them. They carried on with the mission. That's why we're Muslims today. That's why we come to the masjid today. That's why we know Islam. That's why we worship Allah. It is the knowledge that they transmitted from the Prophet ﷺ, from Allah Azza wa Jal. So, but every single person of them understood that they have a role to play, and this role beared fruits. That's why we're of the products of these Sahaba, because of their efforts. And my dear brothers and sisters, this will apply to every single one of us. Because many of us think that, okay, it is them. Always we talk about them. It is the scholars. It is the people of authority. It is the people of knowledge. It is the people of influence. It is the people of money who have to have a role. But what about my role? Oh, I'm exempted. No one of us is exempted. We'll go back to the ayah that we started with. أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا. Do you think that you were created in vain? That you have no responsibility? No, everyone has a responsibility. And when Allah tells us that everyone shall be brought back and returned to Him and held accountable, Allah is addressing every single one of us. And we know that everyone is going to stand before Allah as what? Individually. You're not going to bring your family with you. You're not going to bring the Dar al-Hijrah's community with you. You're not going to bring the Imam of Dar al-Hijrah with you, and the leadership of Dar al-Hijrah, and the leadership of the Muslim Ummah with you. You're not going to bring the leaders of the Muslim organizations in the US with you to say, oh Allah, okay, these people were entrusted with this. But what about your role? They're not going to be brought with you. No one is going to be brought with anyone. We're going to be brought before Allah in our individual capacity. We will stand before Him, and then we will be held accountable. What have you done? You were told that you were not created in vain, that you had a reason. There is a reason for your creation. There is a role for you to play. Now, what is the definition of this role? Now, this is the issue where every one of us needs to define for him or herself. Because yes, each one of us has a certain capacity, a certain ability. But the certain capacity and the certain ability never equal zero. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the Quran, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Right? لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Those who are lazy, those who want to exempt themselves from the responsibility and exempt themselves from any role, they would say, okay, Allah is telling us that Allah does not impose any duty on any soul beyond its capacity or its ability. Quite, it's good. But what is the definition of my capacity and my ability? Oh, many people will tend to equate it with the number 0. So it's 0. Oh, and I have no capacity and no ability. MashaAllah. But we have a capacity and ability when it comes to food and eating and enjoying our lives and making money, and we have a capacity and ability. One woman is not enough. We have a capacity and ability. Right? When it comes to my role in relation to the purpose of creation, worshipping Allah and constructing this land and establish justice and order, suddenly we're exempted. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you can outsmart yourself and lie to yourself and deceive yourself, but you cannot deceive Allah. When we stand before Allah, we cannot deceive Him. لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Continue the ayahs. لها ما اكتسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. The soul that is held accountable according to its ability will be asked about what it earned, what it did not earn, where it could have earned it, and what it did in terms of wrong, what it did in terms of right. So my dear brothers and sisters, let's rethink about our role. The purpose is known. The mission is defined. What we are ignoring and neglecting is my role in relation or in the context of this mission and in relation to the purpose of the creation. Just everyone needs to think about this, starting with myself. I mean, I'm not like preaching to you and keeping myself out of or exempting myself from the advice, because everyone, my brothers and sisters, need to think about the role, because if we underperform based on our capacities and abilities, we will be held accountable for it. If we underperform, we will be held accountable for it. So don't underperform, but in order for you to perform properly, then you have to identify your role, identify your capacity, and then if you can increase your contribution, that is good. But at least don't decrease your contribution below the line or your ability and your capacity. So brothers and sisters, again, think about this. Think about your role. Don't give up on trying to do the right thing. Don't give up on trying to establish justice. And when I say justice, I'm not just putting it in as opposed to oppression, the literal definition of justice. No. Justice means is the right order. Justice means worshiping Allah, the only one who's worthy of worship. Justice means standing up to speak power, to speak truth to power. Justice means helping those who are in need. Justice means is that I take care of my family. Justice means I take care of myself. Justice means I bring happiness and joy to my family and to my community. Justice means that I pursue my future and I look for a job and I try to get the best career and I try to make my children the best children and my family the best family and my community the best community and the humanity as it should be, serving the Almighty by constructing this land, by contributing positively. That's what justice means. It encompasses everything that should be the norm in our lives. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم، وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. So the essence of this khutbah, my dear brothers and sisters, is for every one of us to pay attention to their roles in relation to the mission and in relation to the purpose of our creation. Just pay attention to your role. Make sure that you identify it. Make sure that you know what it should be. Make sure what your capacity is, and make sure that your efforts are meeting your capacity. You're not underperforming. You're not under contributing. Make sure that you do the right thing. My dear brothers and sisters, we as an ummah who understand the main objective of creation is to worship Allah and to establish justice. لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. That's what Allah tells us. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. That Allah sent His messengers, and He sent down with clear proofs, and He sent down with them the book and the balance in order for man to do what? To accomplish what? Justice. And I said justice means it encompasses everything that we do that will maintain order. And when we say justice is the main objective, again, because once you establish justice, the only one is worthy of worship is whom? The one who created, right? The one who created, Allah Azza wa Jal. So my dear brothers and sisters, we have this, we know what our mission is. We know what the purpose of the creation is. And we know what our role is now in relation to this, but we need to know what is my personal role, because that's an collective role of the ummah of humanity. But again, I want you to think in terms of my personal responsibility. My personal responsibility. We have so many causes that we need, my dear brothers and sisters, to pay attention to. You know, many of you here came to me months ago, and they came to complain about Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Do I need to tell you who Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar? The two Muslim congresswomen? Remember when Rashida Tlaib took on Trump months ago? And when Trump went after them, I'm not talking about the latest incident when they were banned from visiting Palestine. We'll come to it. Many people came to me and said, Yahi, brother Osama, do you know Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar? I said, okay, why you're asking? Tell them to cool down. Tell them to slow down. Tell them not to take on the president. Why? If they were saying the right thing, speaking truth to power, why are we asking them not to do the right thing? Oh, because we're Muslims. We don't want to be viewed like we're the spoilers. No, that's called an inferiority complex. When they do the right thing, we're upset. Now rumors are being spread about one of them, and everyone is up in arms, and we have the knives are out, and we're ready to dissect them. Why? I mean, isn't that about our role in this life, each in their personal capacity? My dear brothers and sisters, if it didn't sink in yet that we're citizens in this country, that we have rights in this country, that our rights are not a favor by anyone, not even the president and Congress, then we have a problem. Many people there go and take the oath of citizenship and to go back home and brag about them being American citizens, but when it comes to the responsibilities of this citizenship to be a positive force, to contribute positively to this country, to your community, to your ummah, to your religion, to justice, many people say, oh, elections are haram. but taking the citizenship is halal, mashallah. I mean, these are double standards, right? This is shameful. Shameful that I go travel overseas and I say, I'm a US citizen. I'm an American citizen. Oh, I'm very proud about it. But be a citizen here in this country. Do the right thing. That's not going to change anything. So we, mashallah, we forecast failure before it happens, as if future in our hands, as if the Prophet ﷺ had a nice, rosy journey, had an easy task. The whole world was against him. You do your part, you leave the rest with Allah. Alhamdulillah, last week unfortunately we had a new tragedy now, a new atrocity in Kashmir, which has been in existence for the past 70 years. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a demonstration before the Indian embassy. I see our brother Osama Jamal is here, the Secretary General for the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, the umbrella organization of 8 major Muslim organizations. Many masajid, many local organizations, many shura councils are part of this umbrella organization that will represent the Muslim community and speak for a unified community. Alhamdulillah, under his leadership, we visited with the State Department to discuss the Kashmiri issue. We visited with the ambassador of Pakistan, and we're trying to meet with the Indian ambassador. And also we met with the ambassador of Myanmar to speak about the rights of our oppressed Muslims in Myanmar, the Rohingya Muslims. A lot of things are taking place, but my brothers and sisters, them doing this does not exonerate me from my role. What my role is? What is my contribution? What can I do? I mean, yes, maybe I can't be with them. Maybe I can't be a leader of an organization, or in an organization I have other things to do. But I still have a role, right? I still have a role. We have so many issues, so many causes here and overseas. My brothers and sisters, and this is my last thought. Next week, Saturday, September 7th, we have an event for Palestine. We have 2 main speakers, distinguished speakers, the grandson of Nelson Mandela. Tell me you don't know who Nelson Mandela is now. By the way, was he a Muslim, Nelson Mandela? Was he? No. Did he contribute positively to humanity? Yes. So I don't care if many Muslims sitting on their behinds doing nothing for humanity, and then we go judge people who are not Muslims and who are contributing positively, and we degrade them, or they're not Muslims. People like him did contribute positively to humanity. Fighting against racism and bigotry is the right thing. This is Islam too. So the grandson of Nelson Mandela is going to be coming, inshallah, next week from South Africa. Dr. Mark Lamont Hill, I think everyone knows who he is, the man who was fired from CNN, the Columbia professor, because he said Palestine should be free. That's all what he said. Palestine should be free. He was fired from CNN. That's fine. He stood for what he believes in. That's a positive contribution, right? My brothers and sisters, under the American Muslims for Palestine, we're holding this event next week in Crystal City, next Saturday, 7 p.m. The ticket is $50. It's costing us as an organization per person $76. But it's fine with us. It's not about the money, it's that we want every one of you to participate. $50 for a ticket, $450 for a table, if you want a table of 10 seats. If you want to sponsor this event with $1,000, $1,500, it's up to you. $1,000 or $1,500, it's up to you, your business. But we want every one of you, my dear brothers and sisters, to come and attend. If we're talking about the latest incident where Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib were banned by the Israeli government by the behest of our president here, I don't want you to feel discouraged because the trends are shifting. The public opinion is shifting about Palestine, not only within the Democratic Party, but also the American public opinion is shifting. But what we need to do is to make sure that we contribute to this in order to make this translate into a change in our policies here. Everyone can do it. You can do it for Kashmir, you can do it for Palestine, you can do it for the Rohingya, you can do it for the Uyghur Muslims, you can do it for the country that you come from, you can do it for your civil rights, for your constitutional rights, for your children. Everyone can do something if you choose to do something. Define your role, personal role, in relation to this mission. We have the tickets in the office, both offices. Please make sure you get your ticket before you leave. Please make sure you get your ticket. We need everyone to be there. We have one of our brothers who's sick, our brother Ali Akhtar Abbasi. He has cancer. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to cure him. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help him, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen, and to give him the best health and iman, inshallah. Okay. Also, we have a janaza, the grandson or the grandchild, I'm not sure if it's of our sister Tahani. I think you know who's our sister Tahani. She's the head of our social services committee here. Her grandchild just passed away. Inshallah, we'll have janaza after the prayer, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen. So please, give few minutes for the janaza. Let's wait and pray the janaza. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to have mercy on this child and to have mercy on the family of this child, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen, and to give them patience, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen. So a few minutes, inshallah, after the prayer, we'll pray the janaza. Then we can leave. Do we have the casket here? Okay, so please wait for the casket to leave before we start leaving. And when you leave, go to the office and get your ticket, inshallah, for next week's event. Jazakumullah khair. Aqim as-salah.